a WikiVidi documentaries production. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Enjoy. Reba McEntire. Reba Nell McEntire is an American singer, songwriter, actress, and record producer. She began her career in the music industry as a high school student singing in the Kiowa High School band, on local radio shows with her siblings, and at rodeos. While a sophomore in college, she performed the National Anthem at the National Rodeo in Oklahoma City and caught the attention of country artist Red Steagall, who brought her to Nashville, Tennessee. She signed a contract with Mercury Records a year later in 1975. She released her first solo album in 1977, and released 5 additional studio albums under the label until 1983. Signing with MCA Nashville Records, McEntire took creative control over her second MCA album, My Kind of Country, which had a more traditional country sound and produced 2 #1 singles, High Blue and Somebody Should Leave. The albums brought her breakthrough success, bringing her a series of successful albums and #1 singles in the 1980s and 1990s. McEntire has since released 29 studio albums, acquired 40 #1 singles, 16 #1 albums, and 28 albums have been certified gold, platinum or multi-platinum in sales by the Recording Industry Association of America. She was sometimes been referred to as the Queen of Country, and she is one of the best-selling artists of all time, having sold more than 80 million records worldwide. In the early 1990s, McEntire branched into film, starting with 1990's Tremors. She has since starred in the Broadway revival of Annie Get Your Gun and in her television sitcom, Reba, for which she was nominated for the Golden Globe Award for Best Performance by an Actress in a Television Series, Musical or Comedy. Early life. Reba Nell McEntire was born March 28, 1955, in McAlester, Oklahoma, to Jacqueline and Clark Vincent McEntire. Her father and her grandfather, John Wesley McEntire, were both champion steeropers, and her father was a world champion steeroper 3 times. John McEntire was the son of Clark Stephen McEntire and Helen Florida McEntire. Her mother had once wanted to be a country music artist, but eventually decided to become a school teacher, but she did teach her children how to sing. Reba reportedly taught herself how to play the guitar on car rides home from their father's rodeo shows. The McEntire siblings learned songs and harmonies from their mother, eventually forming a vocal group called the Singing McEntires, with her brother, Paik, and her younger sister Susie. Reba played guitar in the group and wrote all the songs. The group sang at rodeos and recorded The Ballad of John McEntire together. Released on the indie label Boss, the song pressed 1,000 copies. In 1974, McEntire attended Southeastern Oklahoma State University, planning to be an elementary school teacher. While not attending school, she also continued to sing locally. That same year she was hired to perform the National Anthem at the National Rodeo in Oklahoma City. Country artist Red Steagall, who was also performing that day, was impressed by her vocal ability and agreed to help her launch a country music career in Nashville, Tennessee. After recording a demo tape, she signed a recording contract with Mercury Records in 1975. 1976–83, career launch at Mercury. McEntire made her first recordings for Mercury on January 22, 1976, when she released her debut single. Upon its release that year, I Don't Want to Be a One-Night Stand failed to become a major hit on the Billboard Country Music chart, peaking at number 88 in May. She completed her second recording session September 16, which included the production of her second single, Between a Woman and Man, which reached only number 86 in March 1977. She recorded a third single that April, Glad I Waited Just for You, which reached number 88 by August. That same month, Mercury issued her self-titled debut album. The album was a departure from any of McEntire's future releases, as it resembled the material of Tanya Tucker and Tammy Wynette, according to AllMusic reviewer Greg Adams. The album itself did not chart the Billboard Top Country Albums chart upon its release. After releasing 2 singles with Jackie Ward, Mercury issued her second studio album in 1979, Out of a Dream. The album's cover of Patsy Cline's Sweet Dreams became McEntire's first top 20 hit, reaching number 19 on the Billboard Country chart in November 1979. In 1980, You Lift Me Up brought her to the top 10 for the first time. Her third studio album, Feel the Fire, was released in October and spawned 2 additional top 20 hit singles that year. In September 1981, McEntire's fourth album, Heart to Heart, was issued and became her first album to chart the Billboard Top Country Albums list, peaking at number 2. Its lead single, Today All Over Again, became a top 5 country hit. The album received mainly negative reviews from critics. William Ruhlman of AllMusic gave it 2.5 out of 5 stars, stating she did not get creative control of her music. Ruhlman called There Ain't No Love essentially a soft pop ballad. Most of the album's material consisted of mainly country pop-styled ballads, which was not well liked by McEntire herself. Her fifth album, Unlimited, was issued in June 1982, and spawned her first Billboard #1 single in early 1983, Can't Even Get the Blues, and You're the First Time I've Thought About Leaving. The following year her sixth album, Behind the Scene, was released and was positively received by music critics. In 1983, McEntire announced her departure from Mercury, criticizing the label's country pop production styles. 1984-90, Breakthrough. McEntire signed with MCA Nashville Records in 1984 and released her seventh studio album, Just a Little Love. Harold Shedd was originally the album's producer. However, McEntire rejected his suggestions towards country pop arrangements. It was instead produced by Nora Wilson, although the album still had a distinguishable country pop sound. Dissatisfied with the album's sound, she went to MCA president Jimmy Bowen, who told McEntire to find material that was best suited to her liking. Instead of finding new material, she found previously recorded country hits from her own record collection, which was then recorded for the album. The album's material included songs originally released as singles by Ray Price, Carl Smith, Farron Young, and Connie Smith. The album spawned 2 #1 singles, High Blue and Somebody Should Leave. It was given positive reviews from critics, with Billboard praising McEntire as the finest woman country singer since Kitty Wells, and Rolling Stone critics honoring her as one of their top 5 favorite country artists. Upon its release, My Kind of Country became her highest-peaking album on the Top Country Albums chart, reaching number 13. The album also included instruments such as a fiddle and pedal steel guitar, and was aimed more towards a traditional country sound. McEntire was later praised as a new traditionalist, along with Ricky Skaggs, George Strait, and Randy Travis. That year, she won the Country Music Association Awards Female Vocalist of the Year, her first major industry award. The album was certified gold. In 1985, McEntire released her third MCA album, Have I Got a Deal for You, which followed the same traditional format as My Kind of Country. It was the first album produced by McEntire and was co-produced with Jimmy Bowen. Like her previous release, the album received positive feedback, including Rolling Stone, which called it a promising debut. The album's second single, Only in My Mind, was entirely written by McEntire and reached number 5 on the Billboard Country chart. On January 17, 1986, McEntire became a member of the Grand Ole Opry in Nashville, Tennessee, and has been a member ever since. In February 1986, McEntire's 9th studio album, Whoever's in New England, was released. For this album, McEntire and co-producer Jimmy Bowen incorporated her traditional music style into a mainstream sound that was entirely different from anything she had previously recorded. Country Music, The Rough Guide, called the production of the title track bigger and sentimentalism more obvious, even manipulative. The title track peaked at number 1 on the Billboard Country chart and won her a Grammy Award for Best Female Country Vocal Performance the following year. In addition, the album became McEntire's first release to certify gold in sales by the Recording Industry Association of America. At the end of the year, McEntire won Entertainer of the Year from the Country Music Association, the highest honor in the awards show. McEntire released a second album in 1986, What Am I Gonna Do About You? Music critic William Ruhlman was not overly pleased with the album's production, saying that it lacked the features that had been set forth on Whoever's in New England. Ruhlman criticized the title track for something of the feel of Whoever's in New England in its portrayal of a woman trying to recover from a painfully ended love affair. The title track was the lead single from the release and became a #1 single shortly after its release. This album also spawned a second #1 in One Promise Too Late. The following year, her first MCA compilation, Greatest Hits, was released and became her first album to be certified platinum in sales, eventually certifying triple platinum. A 12th studio album, The Last One to Know, was released in 1987. The emotions of her divorce from husband, Charlie Battles, were put into the album's material. According to McEntire, the title track from the release was a #1 single in 1987, and the second single, Love Will Find Its Way to You, also reached the top spot. In late 1987, McEntire released her first Christmas collection, Merry Christmas to You, which sold 2 million copies in the United States, certifying double platinum. The album included cover versions of Away in a Manger, Silent Night, and Grandpa Jonas, The Christmas Guest. Her 13th album, Reba, was issued in 1988 and was not well received by critics, who claimed she was moving farther away from her traditional country sound. Stereo Review disliked the album's contemporary style, stating, after years of insisting that she'd stick to hardcore country because I have tried the contemporary type songs, and it's not Reba McEntire, it's just not honest. McEntire has gone whole hog pop. The album peaked at #1 on the top country albums chart and remained there for 6 consecutive weeks. Okay, so maybe that's not so terrible. Although it was reviewed poorly, the album itself was certified platinum in sales, and produced 2 #1 singles, I Know How He Feels, and New Fool at an Old Game. In addition, the release's cover version of Joe Stafford's A Sunday Kind of Love became a top 5 hit on the Billboard Country Music chart. Also in 1988, McEntire founded Starstruck Entertainment, which controlled her management, booking, publishing, promotion, publicity, accounting, ticket sales, and fan club administration. The company would eventually expand into managing a horse farm, jet charter service, trucking, construction, and book publishing. McEntire's 14th studio album, Sweet 16, was released in May 1989. It spent 16 weeks at #1 on the Billboard Top Country Albums chart, while also becoming her first album to peak in the top 100 on the Billboard 200, reaching number 78. The album was given positive reviews, because unlike her previous studio album, the release welcomes the fiddles and steel guitars back as she returns to the neo-traditionalist fold, according to AllMusic, which gave the release 4.5 out of 5 stars. Reviewer William Ruhlman found Sweet 16 to double back to a formula that worked for her in the past. The lead single was a cover of the Everly Brothers, Kathy's Clown, with McEntire's version reaching #1 in July on the Billboard Country Music chart. 3 more top 10 hits followed from Sweet 16, Till Love Comes Again, Little Girl, and Walk On, at #4, 7 and 2, respectively. In September she released Reba Live, her first live album, which originally certified gold, but certified platinum 10 years later, 16 months after the release of Sweet 16 and after giving birth to her son. McEntire transitioned into 1990 with the release of Rumor Has It. The album's sound and production were almost entirely pop-oriented, according to Kurt Wolff of Country Music, The Rough Guide. Although Rumor Has It was an attempt to receive critical praise, many reviewers found the album to be predictable. Stereo Review mainly found the recording displeasing in some places, but the reviewer also believed she still leaves most of the competition in the dust, calling the album glorious. Rumor Has It eventually sold 3 million copies by 1999, certifying triple platinum by that year. It was prefaced by the single, You Lie, which became her 15th #1 single on the country chart. In addition, the album's cover of Bobby Gentry's 1969 hit, Fancy, and a new track, Fallen Out of Love, became top 10 hits on the same Billboard country chart. Brought to you by WikiVidi Documentaries. Would you like to know more?